But the Zohar explains on Dafka on Karet, when you take a rope and you cut it, so seemingly there's two pieces now on the rope and the connection is cut. But when you do tshuva, of course for Karet you have to do tshuva, you have to work hard. But what you do is you take this rope and you tie a knot, and in order for it to be strong you tie another knot, you kacha kvetch it, now the connection is 10 times stronger and you have this bunkale of a knot. That's what the Zohar says. When you do tshuva, you take the karet and you make the knot even greater. You make the connection even stronger. So even averot of karet you can fix. It's not easy because even averot shel karet, if you do basic tshuva, it doesn't help. The Gemara says very, very clearly, there's 3 types of averot. There's avera when a person doesn't do a mitzvat aseh, and the Gemara says very clearly, omed sham ad shenimcha lo. You do tshuva and it gets reversed. And then there's mitzvot lo taseh, that the tshuva tola, a person does tshuva, the sin is now on hold, and Yom Kippur memarek. You come to Yom Kippur, you fast, you do the whole thing, and Yom Kippur washes the sin off. But all the averot that fall under karet and mita bidei shamayim, Yom Kippur doesn't really help. You have to go through Yesurim, and you have to work very, very hard. And the only way to know if your tshuva was accepted is if you go through Yesurim. Yesurim means suffering. If a person went, did tshuva, came Yom Kippur, fasted, the whole thing, then everything passed and life is beautiful, he's in big trouble. Which means his tshuva wasn't even accepted because he's not going through Yesurim. And Yesurim memarkim, he has to go through Yesurim, and every Yesurim cuts off another piece, connects this blemish that you did. Anything. It can be small suffering that a mosquito comes and bites you, that's Yisurim. It can be Yisurim, a toothache, and it can be Yisurim, people lose their business, lose their houses, lose their kids, lose their wives. Yisurim can come in so many different ways. The first 2 years when I became religious, I can't even start telling you what Yisurim I had to go through. You can't even imagine. Years. I went through maybe 5-6 years of Yisurim that I don't wish on anyone. So the more Yisurim you get, the better you know that your tshuva was accepted. If you do tshuva and there's no Yisurim, you're not in a good problem, not in a good place. But the Gemara even says, yes, even the Gemara doesn't give that example. The Gemara gives an example that even a mosquito bites you, that's Yisurim. But I give an example that even if you're driving around looking for parking, and you see the parking, and you drive, and somebody goes into your parking, and you're like, ugh, that's also Yisurim. Everything that comes to annoy you, that's Yisurim. Now you have to be smart. Some Yisurim are coming from Shamayim to lemarek, to clean. Some Yisurim are not coming from Shamayim, it's coming from these malachim that you create with your avara that come to annoy you. So a person has to know more or less what's going on. But the averot of karet, the tshuva has to be the highest level of tshuva. And the thing is, the Arizal, there's in the Tikkunei Arizal, there's all the remedies that the Arizal says about all sorts of averot. For avera like this, you have to do this and this and this. For avera like that, you have to do this and this and that. Arizal says that for avera of zera levatala, has to do 84 fasts for each time. Now go figure out a man that wasn't religious, or chas v'shalom religious, how many times will I have to have a fast my whole life? How am I going to do it? So if I don't do it, what's going to happen? So the Arizal says, first of all, you can lifdot et a tzom to redeem the fast with money. So if one fast, I fast the whole day, I would eat that day worth of $10, then you say, okay, I'm not going to fast now, I'll give $10 to tzedakah. So I have to do 80 fasts, so I have to give $800 to tzedakah. And you can redeem these fasts. There's many, many different ways. B'tikunei Ari, there's all sorts of tips how to start fixing these blemishes. Because a person can now look, for example, with a person, I wasn't religious, let's say 15 years. You know how many Shabbases I was mechalel? Hundreds. How you do tshuva for that? So there's many different ways how you have to do it. Now the best way to do it is, let's say a person was mechalel Shabbat 1,000 times. What if he doesn't have 1,000 Shabbatot to keep? So Chachamim tell us very simple. If you owe so many Shabbatot, if you owe so many fasts, go and make another person keep Shabbat, So you like a multi-level marketing. You get his Shabbatot too. So when you go out and you do Zikui Arabim, so now I was mevatel mitzvah tefillin for 15 years. Now here comes a problem, because bitul mitzvah taseh, you can reverse the situation. When you don't do a mitzvah lo taseh, so okay, you do tshuva, you fill in the gap. But if I didn't put tefillin one day, bitalti mitzvah taseh, I didn't do a positive mitzvah, the effect that was supposed to happen by this mitzvah, I cannot gain it. That's it, alach. You didn't come this day to work, you cannot make money that day. So technically, if you didn't put 15 years tefillin, you were mevatel mitzvah taseh 5,000 times. What are you going to do? But again, Kabbalah explains, no, you can actually reverse it. You can reverse it and gain back what you missed. And one of the way of gaining it back is if I go now and make you put tefillin, and him put tefillin, and this guy put tefillin, and I start bringing this mitzvah back. It's not mine, but I make another Jew do it. So there's many different ways when you become religious and you want to get all the tips. You go to a Rav and you tell him, this is what I did. How do I start reversing everything? And Baruch Hashem, there's a menu for everything. Every little thing that you do, there's a way to reverse it and a way to fix it. And the Zohar says clearly, there's no such a thing. The worst sin, the biggest karet, because the thing is that when the neshama gets chopped off, it can get chopped off again. There's once karet, that's it. You can get karet on karet and karet. There's different opinions. The thing is, a lot of people also don't understand, the karet don't go on the neshama. The karet goes on the nefesh. The neshama cannot, nothing can affect it. Neshama is chelek elokam imal. It's a piece of Hashem. You cannot cut the neshama. The karet goes on the nefesh, and unfortunately the karet affects the children and the grandchildren, affects all generations. So, a person when becomes religious and he becomes aware of what's going on, he needs to learn et ha'maaseh asher yasun, has to learn, what did I do? I did damage here, how do I fix it? So there's a way to fix everything. And if somebody tells you there's no such a thing, then you can tell him that he's wrong. There's enough sources in the Zohar, in Kabbalah, in Hasidut, that says there's no such a thing. You can reverse everything. The worst sins, you can still reverse. Avodah zarah, gilui arayot, anything you can reverse, and there's a way to reverse it, and dafka, when you reverse it, the connection becomes much, much stronger. So that's why b'makom she'ba'al teshuvah omdim tzadikim gorim enam omdim. Why? Because you reach to a level that the tzaddik can't even reach. You went all the way down to the lowest of the lowest, and you come up. And if the teshuvah is right, you take with you all the dirt, all the klipot from all these places that you've been, and you elevate this and you transform it to kedusha. This is in the Lashon of Kabbalah, itkafia. Itkafia is when you subdue these klipot, and from that you do itkafia. Itkafia and ithapcha. Itkafia is when you subdue it, ithapcha is when you transform it. And ithapcha, chashocha lenahora, you take the darkness and you elevate it to light. And the Zohar says, ve'ithapcha meriru lemetikur, like whatever is bitter, you transform it to sweet. So there's no such a thing that one says, oh, I'm so rasha, nothing will help. There's no such a thing. In this world, you can reverse everything, but it's not just putting a yarmulke on and says, yeah, that's it, I did tshuva. Tshuva is, you have to, kol chayecha you b'tshuva. Your whole life has to be b'tshuva, because you don't know if your tshuva was actually good and accepted 100%. That's why you cannot waste one day. You don't know. They told me up there, as a tip before I went, they told me, Habibi, you are so much averot, nothing that you'll do will actually get you back here. The only thing for you to come back here, besides the tshuva, is only if you go and you bring with you so many other neshamot that says, yeah, he made me put tefillin, and he made me come to a shiur Torah, and he invited me to Aruchat Shabbat, and he made me say Birkat Hamazon, and he made me do this, and he made me do this. Zikui Arabim is the highest level one can reach. Because it doesn't matter what you are, you come with an army of 100 people, 1,000 people, 100,000 people that says, yes, because of him, I was not hungry. Because of him, I went to shiur Torah. Because of him, I did this mitzvah. So a person, when he's smart, then he says, okay, tshuva is not so simple. In one way, yes, it's simple. Don't do the sin anymore. Yeah, but then you have to reverse all the bad things that you did, and there's a whole menu how to do it. It's not so simple, but it can be done. And when you do it, the level that you reach is can't explain it, because your avodah is much, much, much higher than any other person. There's no toil, there's no itnagdut, there's no yesurim, everything. But Baruch Hashem, Shmuel Hanavi says, "Velo yidach mimeno nidach." Hashem doesn't leave anybody on the edge. You want to do tshuva? Haba litaher mesayin lo. You want to do tshuva? No problem. Here we open all the gates. Come and do tshuva. We'll accept. Just do the real tshuva, and make sure you're reversing every stone that you turned over. You're turning back. You make sure that you change everything. And a lot of people say, I don't know how much lashon hara I said. I don't know how many people I insulted. You know in school how many people I insulted? Go find these people even to apologize. My wife, when she did tshuva, she called people from 3rd grade, 4th grade and apologized for insulting them. So the thing is, when you can find a person, if you know that you insulted a certain person and you can't find him, then the etzah for this is that you have to be extra super nice to 10 other people. That way you kind of cover it up. You stole, not you, chas v'shalom, a person stole something that is valued as $100. You can't find the person because it's 20 years ago, you can't give it back. You value how much it is, you take the money and you go and give it to somebody poor that needs it. And you do even more than that. Thank you so much. So there's, yeah, of course. So there's so much things one can do to reverse the situation. And when a Ba'al Teshuvah looks back and says, wow, 30 years, how much averot? How am I going to find all the traces? Yeah, so you first of all, you refrain from doing bad, and then you start collecting good. And a lot of people say, you say Zikua Rabim, this, that, more am I don't know nothing. I don't know how to teach, I barely know how to read. You want me to teach? Okay, so you can teach. Grab somebody to come to a shiur with you. You can do Zikua Rabim, no problem. Take your maaser, take your tzedakah, give it to an organization that does Zikua Rabim, be part of it. Give it to a rabbi that goes and does Zikua Rabim. You can invite somebody to Sudat Shabbat because you don't have your own Sudat Shabbat, no problem. Take your money, if you have, give it to a family that does Achnasat Orchim on Shabbat. There's so many ways that you can grab the situation and reverse the act that you did. Because Batachlis, you can't really look back and say, why, you think I remember what I did 15 years ago? I don't remember what I did a month ago. So there's ways to reverse everything. And a Ba'al Teshuvah, when the Teshuvah is real, like the lady was saying here before she left, when you have remorse, why, how could I do it? Then you find a way to reverse it. And there's ways to reverse everything, and there's no such a thing that one cannot do tshuva. This is the world. Once you leave the world, the stopper is out, that's it. Whatever you did, you did. You didn't do tshuva, chas v'shalom, there's going to be an issue. So a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people, it's hard for them. The etzah for people that is very hard for them to do tshuva, and they're like backwards and forth, if you must sin, at least do a lot of mitzvot. So you woke up in the morning, you did a sin last night, the Yetzer Hara comes and tells you, how do you have the chutzpah to go to shul now and pray shacharit and put tefillin on? Look where you were last night, you were in a club, you were this, you did this, you did this. The Yetzer Hara will come to put you down. And it usually works, because a person does an avera, the Yetzer Hara comes and breaks him, and then the next day he comes to do a mitzvah, I did such an avera yesterday, what's the point? But the etzah is, Rabbi Nachman from Breslev says, En Yehush Ba'olam. Why? You fall, right away you get up. On Erev Shabbat we read Lecha Dodi. In Lecha Dodi, secrets of the universe. There's one of the passages that says, Hitna'ari me'afar kumi. Livshi bigdei tifartech ami. What does it mean? Hitna'ari, somebody falls into the klipot, into the tumah, into the lichluch, is all dirty. Torah tells him, get up. Get up, hitnari, shake all the me'afar kumi, get all this tumah, don't worry. V'livshi b'gidei tif'artech ami, where are the clothes of the glory of my nation? Don't worry, so what if you fail? You get up, you brush off the dirt, and you keep on walking. Nothing happened. You do tshuva, and another day. And a lot of people say, I have so much averot, what's the point? The point is that you have 10 averot today, do 30 mitzvot. Because you don't know, first of all, the mitzvot will overpower the averot. And if chas v'shalom, the person doesn't do tshuva, and comes up to Shamayim and they tell him, look, Habibi, you have here a well of averot. Yeah, but look how much mitzvot I have. And the avera you can get divorced from. The neshama will go to Gehenom, will get washed off, all the things that it needs to do. then it goes back to Gan Eden and gets the reward. Of course, if the averot are not severe averot that even for Gehenom they don't put the neshama. So a person has to be smart in his mind. He says, at least if I'm sinning, let me not sin with the big things, and let me do as much as mitzvot that I can. And a lot of people think, I'm in such a low place, there's no point to do mitzvot. No, at least if you have to fail, at least do a mitzvah at the same time. You fail, right away do 5 mitzvot. Chassidut says a little bit of light diminishes a lot of darkness. So if a person all day long did lashon hara and this and I don't want to even say what, so at least at night say Kriyat Shema L'Mitah.